Most people who enter a cathedral today are tourists, and I number amongst them. I sang in my local church choir as a boy soprano, and it is this important experience that still allows me to appreciate and admire church architecture for its beauty. On a grander scale than castles or palaces, cathedrals display different architectural styles dating from the Norman conquest. Dioceses existed prior to 1066, but other than footings in the grounds of Chichester Cathedral, nothing remains of Saxon cathedrals. William the Conqueror is responsible for the new dawning of cathedral building, giving rise to an architecture known as Norman, but copied from a style on the continent called Romanesque. English Gothic followed, first as Early English, then Decorated, and finally Perpendicular, all differing styles that make any visit both inspirational and absorbing for visitors who appreciate beauty amid splendor, wholly created by medieval craftsmen. Cathedrals having a strong Norman lineage include Southwell, Durham and St. Albans. Here, the characteristic Romanesque architecture is clearly evident. Southwell is the mother church for Nottinghamshire. Construction of the present building commenced in the 12th century, but its nave, towers and transepts have hardly changed. However, the pyramid steeples, because they were in a poor state, had been removed. They were replaced in the 19th century, and a new west window was installed as recently as 1996. A hidden gem at Southwell is the 13th century chapter house, regarded as one of the most beautiful buildings in the country. Its chief glory are the meticulously carved stone leaves at its entrance and inside that portray different aspects of nature. Canterbury is England's premier cathedral, regarded by many visitors as the finest, a view not always shared by authoritative commentators. Its medieval stained glass would be difficult to equal, let alone surpass, one of which shows Thomas Becket, who was brutally murdered within the church. Construction of the present cathedral commenced in 1071. Today, we witness several styles: a Romanesque crypt, an early Gothic choir, and a Perpendicular nave completed in 1405. The great central tower was finished in 1509, known as Bell Harry, after the curfew bell that is still tolled each day. Before the Norman conquest, the cathedral for the South Saxons was situated at Church Norton near Southsea. None of it remains, and the story that it was washed away by the sea is a myth. Not quite on the same scale as Winchester, or indeed Ely or Canterbury, Chichester's smaller stature, which fits snugly into the town centre, possesses a homely atmosphere, greeting its many visitors as friends. The spire, which collapsed on 21st of February 1861, was rebuilt by Sir George Gilbert Scott, and standing at 277 feet, it looks down on a cathedral city that dates from Roman times. Chichester has also invested in modern art, which most notably include a 1978 stained glass window by Marc Chagall portraying Psalm 150. John Piper's 1966 tapestry Reredos depicting the Trinity, and in music, Bernstein's Chichester Psalms, commissioned by the Dean, Walter Hussey, in 1965. Because of the terrible state it had been allowed to get into at the start of the Victorian period, when Pugin saw Ely Cathedral in the 1830s, he burst into tears and exclaimed, "What has England done to deserve this?" Nevertheless, the view down the nave today remains overwhelming. Equally, its exterior is just as amazing, and not quite like any other cathedral, living up to its name as the Ship of the Fens. Prominent is the octagon lantern, and although meant as a beacon for travellers and pilgrims crossing the Fens, today's visitors are spellbound by its colourful interior. Of the 20th century cathedrals, Coventry, although not without criticism, is the most strikingly original. The city suffered extensive war damage in the 1940s that included a direct hit on the cathedral. Now a shell consisting just the outer walls, they were integrated within the design of the new cathedral, opened in 1962. To enter the new cathedral is both a moving and arresting experience, where the new and old become one. Ahead is the Graham Sutherland tapestry, Christ in Majesty, and to one side the vibrant baptistry window created by John Piper, containing 195 smaller windows. There are 42 Anglican cathedrals in England. Therefore, only a handful can be cited in detail. Here are some personal favourites selected from the other cathedrals. Burne-Jones' vibrant stained glass at Birmingham. Carlisle's glorious choir ceiling. Decorated glory at Exeter's nave ceiling. Unrivalled fan-vaulted cloisters at Gloucester that were featured in the Harry Potter films. Lichfield's 3 spires from across Minster Pool. Lincoln's classic early Gothic nave. Liverpool's Lady Chapel, built first before the main cathedral. A Norman presbytery at Norwich. Peterborough's fan-vaulted Lady Chapel. Rochester's Norman west front. Salisbury's famous spire, the tallest in England. Wells' breathtaking west front. And finally, Winchester's choir stalls. All photographs are taken with Olympus OMD digital cameras, a few with pen and E-system models. As 4/3 sensors offer greater depth of field than many larger sensors, the mode dial was set to program, so I cheated by allowing exposure to sort itself out. Other settings include cloudy white balance, minus 0.3 EV, and metering on spot, easily evaluated with an electronic finder and all saved to RAW. There has been some post-production work in Lightroom, particularly by correcting underexposed shadows. No HDR or filters, however. Perhaps the most surprising technique is that all shots are handheld, no tripod or monopod, other than a conveniently situated font, pillar, and, when no one is looking, the altar. However, I am relying on the truly superior image stabilizer built into OMD cameras, a technical advancement in camera design that is meaningful and not just an ephemeral fad.